So yeah, who made the mountains and the rivers and the sea? Like, and money never built no mountain. We measure our success by the money we make, or we think we can buy health, or we think we can buy love, and we forget that, no, that's not what it's all about. No, it's really not. And even though in science mind, we don't think of God or spirit or the universe as a person, when you get into the rhythm of the song and you're like, yeah, like who, what, how was all of life created? Oh, there is a creative power, a creative source. And it's just easy and convenient sometimes to use human pronouns or the image of a human being. But we know better than that, yes? Yes? What about you online? We know better than that, yes? Ryan, are you seeing some yeses in the chat? Because I don't want there to be any confusion about this. So this month, the month of August 2022, we get the opportunity to focus on what does it mean to reimagine faith? What do you have faith in? Who do you have faith in? And how do you live your faith? If I didn't ask you what you have faith in or who you have faith in, could I know, because of the way you're living, what you have faith in and who you have faith in? That really is the challenge for all of us, living and being guided from a spiritual perspective. Are we actually living our faith? And how we live actually does designate or determine or reveal who and what we have faith in. Yeah, I'm not going to get distracted by that because really that is way deeper than what it sounds like on the surface. So as most of you know, this entire year, the theme is Sacred Disruption, Reimagine Everything. And as I was preparing to think about and talk about what it means this month to reimagine faith, what is faith and all of that, I was reminded of Shalane Harkin's poem, Redefine Everything, because it fits with our theme, Sacred Disruption, Reimagine Everything, and also it lays the foundation for us to begin to dive into reimagining faith. So, Redefine Everything by Shalane Harkin. Uncinch the strings around the word faith. Take the corset off God. What happens to it when you set it free, let it prance about? Loosen up, reverence. What happens there? Experiment while tickling the chin of your beliefs till they crack open slightly with joy. What if religion were the untying of old knots? Why not redefine everything, starting with the concepts we seem to care about most? Let's keep reworking these definitions until they feel more like they're meant to. A song of untethered love. Shalane Harkin. I'm reading this from the book, her book, Susceptible to Light, And you'll be hearing, she's one of the friends I'm bringing along with me this entire month. So if you have received or get to engage with the monthly study guide, her poetry is included there. And each time I speak this month, you will be exposed to a little more Shalane Harkin. And if that poem, or a poem that I will end with today, it really resonate with you and you can't wait till you get home to look her up online, or want to be in service and look her up later, we did make a few copies that you can pick up at the back of the room if you are here in person. But Shalane Harkin challenges us to redefine everything, especially the concepts that we have had around faith and other basic universal spiritual principles. And that's not necessarily easy to do. It means we have to look at, what do we believe now? Why do we believe that? How are we living now? And what do we want to do next? And keep in mind that redefining does not mean your life is broken or there's something wrong. A lot of times we get caught in that human thinking that, oh, we'll have to wait till, I hit rock bottom and then I'll get my life together. But your life can be fabulous. And we can still stop and breathe and say, I'm going to reimagine faith beginning today. What did I know about faith? And what's my mindset as I go forward? If I really thought of faith as untethered love, that there are no leashes on the love that I give, there are no leashes on the love that I receive, I don't have to do anything for spirit to support me and love me, because the love that is spiritual love is unbound and it has no tethers. It is always there. Oh my goodness. If I believed and if I had that kind of faith that I'm living my life and as an example of untethered love, both in the receiving and in the giving, I don't know, but for me, maybe for you, your life would be no different. You're already living completely as untethered love all the time, 365 days of the year. But for me, in my house, sometimes I put some conditions on that love, or my perception of faith is like I have to do something a certain way in order to receive that which I want. So we're going to dive into that just a little bit today. But I have 3 questions for you that will help me know exactly where to go during the next 30 minutes, 25 minutes. So these are real questions. So if you are with us virtually, you can put your response in the chat. And in the room, I'm actually going to ask you after each question. So in your way of communicating, what's another word for faith? Let me hear it. Love, trust, belief, louder, conviction, knowing. Anything else? Confidence. Right, so when I say the word faith, it doesn't mean exactly the same thing to everyone, but you have to know, what does it mean to you? And second question, fill in the blank. Blank is a demonstration of my faith. Trust is a demonstration of my faith. My life is a demonstration. Prayer is a demonstration. Mental. Okay, I got health too, but mental something, mental capacity, and there was something over here. Action is a demonstration of my faith. Oh my goodness, you all got some great responses to these questions. Number 3, my faith is evidence of my life conviction. connection. My faith is evidence of my belief. My faith is evidence of consciousness, my experience. Now, some of you have noticed, so why is that QR code up in the corner? Well, if you're in the room and you are familiar with QR codes, if you want to focus on that, you have permission to bring out your technology and your smartphone or your tablet, whatever you have. I will not think you are distracted. But that will take you to a survey that asks you these 3 questions. And every week this month, there's going to be a survey with 3 or 4 questions related to faith. And I want you to fill the survey out each week. And then at the end of the month, on the 4th Sunday, I'll share with you the results of what CSLDallas related people think about these questions. So if you're online or if you are not comfortable grabbing the QR code, watch the newsletter this week, go to the Facebook page, the CSL Dallas Facebook page. Throughout the week, we will put a direct link there in both of those places so that you can complete the survey. And we'll be doing that the first 3 weeks of the month, and then the 4th week. You know what your answer is, but is anybody curious about what other people think? Jim is like, oh yeah, I want to know. Plus, for me, I want to know because I know what my answers are, but I'm curious how some of you would frame or communicate this topic that we are diving into this month of reimagining the faith that we have and that we live by. Of course, if we dive in and we think about what's our mindset related to faith, what does it mean? What is it that we think about? I can't talk about it without asking Ernest what he thinks about it. And what Ernest Holmes did in his definition of faith is he said, faith is a mental attitude. Okay, that's easy. We think, right? It's an attitude. Faith is an attitude, but we can't stop there. Faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Faith is not just what I say I believe. Faith shows up in the actions I take and in how I live my life because I have so embodied it that it drives my behavior. It shows up in what I do. I don't have to come over to you and say, Cheryl, here's what I have faith in. Cheryl can tell you where I place my faith based on what I say, how I do it, how I show up week after week, month after month. Oh, I know that Tracy has faith in this. Now, here's the side that's a little tricky. There is no one within the sound of my voice who doesn't have 100% faith. You were not created where you earn faith. You were not created where, oh, well, you know, when I was 20, I had 20-year-old faith. And when I was 40, I had 40-year-old faith, and it was bigger. And then when I was 60, I had 60-year-old faith, and it's bigger. No, no, no. You have 100% faith, and you always have had 100% faith. The question becomes, where are you placing your faith? Are you placing it in, I live in a universe that's good, that supports me, or are you placing your faith in, oh yeah, I'm sure something bad's going to happen? Either way, it's faith expressing. It's outwardly showing what you have inwardly embodied. So please, 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 please don't come to me and ask me to to pray for you to have more faith. Well, you can. But then what I'm going to say to you is, tell me what you want to have faith in. And I will pray that you believe that and that you live in accordance with that. And I will probably say add something in the prayer like, and Sherry turns away from any false belief that bad things are going to happen because her faith is 100% focused on all the good that is already in her life and that is coming to her. Versus saying or praying that Sherry has more faith. I'm going to redirect what I'm placing the faith in. What am I so inwardly embodying that it can't help but show up? That is really the basic definition of faith. And so think about that. When you say faith or belief or trust or conviction or any of the words that came to mind for you when I said, what other word do you use when you think of faith, or what other word comes to mind? Really, it is just that you are outwardly expressing that which is so inwardly embodied that there is nothing else that you can do or believe. When I turned 40, I did a big assessment. I was asking myself a lot of questions, and there were, I think, 20 categories where I asked myself, what are the top 10 things? So there were categories like, what are the top 10 things that you would do if you knew you only had 6 months to live? What are the top 10 things that you regret not having done in your life? What are the top 10 places you would go in the world that you want to go in the world? No time limit, right? And there was these top 10 lists to help me see what I wanted to do like in the next decade of my life. And interestingly enough, on at least 7 of the lists, going to West Africa was in the top 10. In fact, on at least 7 of the lists, going to West Africa was in the top 3. Something I had wanted to do from my teen years, and I was about to be 40. And it's like, whoa, wait, why haven't I done this yet? And so I decided that my birthday present to Tracy for her 40th birthday would be to go to Senegal, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, that region of the continent of Africa. Now, when I finally got clarity about that, it was about 6 or 8 weeks before my birthday. I had no money in the bank to go to Africa. I had never done any research about going to Africa. I just had this dream in my head about going to West Africa and seeing where the slave trade had been and trying to build a bridge between me and my ancestors, and just to feel what it felt like to stand on the soil of the motherland. And it was very idealistic, but I kind of, in my mind, realized that I never believed that I could really afford it. And I didn't want to go by myself. And there was a whole list of reasons why, for 20 years I had never gone. But I decided that was going to be my birthday present to myself. And I realized it wasn't going to happen on my birthday, which was less than 2 months away. But it was very clear. You're going to be 40 for 12 months. As long as you go while you are 40, before you turn 41, it is the perfect birthday present to give myself. So how does this relate to faith? Well, in all kinds of ways. So a lot of the things I had faith in, be married and my husband will be rich and he'll take me to Africa, right? I have faith in that. I have faith in the belief, the false belief that I could never afford to do that on my own, or that it would be too scary to travel all the way to Africa by myself, and none of my friends nor family members had any interest at all in going to Africa at that time. And so there were all these things that I was putting my faith in the limitation. I was arguing for my limitations, the things that couldn't happen. And the universe was saying, yes. All right, that's what you believe. That's all you believe I can do for you? Okay. Be happy. Be happy being unhappy. I'm cool with that. So over the next 7 months, I realized how I was changing and reimagining my faith, where I was putting my faith, how I was behaving. I remember the day when my mind shifted to, of course I can do this. Of course it's going to happen. And I started being excited about it. And when the old beliefs would come forward out of habit, I found myself going, well, that's not true. The truth is that Spirit provides for me whatever I want. I can have it. I incorporated it into this trip, into my spiritual practice. I journaled about it. I did a vision board because I wanted to see actual pictures of Africa, not just the stories that were in my head. And that trip changed so much. It wasn't just manifesting the money to go, which is a whole talk in itself. Like, I thought I would need at least $4,500 to $5,000 to go, right? And was one day away from writing a check. These were back in the days when you wrote checks. Writing a check for a deposit to go with this group, this tour company, and it really was. It was like $4,200. And I had to pay my deposit by, let's say it was October 31st. I don't remember what day it was, but for example, let's say it was October 31st. It had to be in. It was like October 28th, and I was getting ready to put this check in the mail. And somebody sent me a flyer about a Black-owned tour company that takes people to West Africa at least 12 times a year, especially during January and February, leading up to and during Black History Month. And because they have so much volume and they have such good connections, the cost was like $2,000 total. I'm like, oh, thank you, God, thank you, Spirit. I wasn't looking, but I kept saying, I can afford this, blah, blah, blah. And then I was going with a group of people who I didn't know before the trip, but I didn't want to be lost in a crowd of like 40 people. The week that I booked, it was a tour group of 8. 7 of the 8 people were all going because they knew, they had a common person they knew. They didn't all know each other, but they had a common person they knew who was celebrating her 50th birthday in Senegal, and they were all going to spend the week celebrating her birthday, and me. So I'm in the group. I meet them in New York. They tell me the story of why they're going, and they just swoop me up like, oh, you're with us. And then I said, yeah, and this is my 40th birthday gift to myself. Every birthday party for her was a birthday party for me, because I reimagined my faith. It works. It works. And I'm betting most of you have examples that come to mind where you shifted your belief and you recognized you had been putting your faith in something that was not your best and highest good. But then you were able to, by practicing and by shifting, shift your faith to something that served where you wanted to go and how you wanted to be in the world. Corrie ten Boom, I love a lot of what she wrote. If you're not familiar with Corrie ten Boom, she is a woman who hid, saved, rescued, but mostly hid a lot of people during the Holocaust. And as a result, saved their lives or saved lives of their family members. And she wrote, "Faith sees the invisible," right? Sees what isn't existing, believes the unbelievable. I couldn't believe that I could go to West Africa for a week for under $2,000 at first, but I believe it now. And receives the impossible. What I thought couldn't happen, happened. And it happened because I made a conscious effort to pay attention to not only what I believe, but to believe it in such an undeniable way that it had to embody in my actions and in the universe. Faith sees the invisible, believes the unbelievable, and receives the impossible. Now, one quick comment. Faith is not just about manifesting material things. Right? Our deepest faith is about creating the kind of life that we want to create. That is our deepest display of our faith. Are we examples of basic spiritual qualities? Are we examples of spiritual love and joy and peace in action in the way we show up in the world? And about a month ago, I had the honor and privilege to officiate a memorial service for a man I met when he was 17 years old. And I just want to speak the name Fred Pacina into the room. That name may not mean anything to any of you. But right now in my life, Fred Pacina is really the perfect example of living a life in faith, not by dogma, not by preaching, not by even saying or professing to any one specific faith or practice, but by choosing to have faith in good in the world, that is the truth, and being that as well as receiving it. And so I met him at the age of 17. He was a little scrawny kid, showed up for an interview. We hired him as an intern. And 35 years later, everything he did, from being a great husband to raising 2 daughters with his wife, putting family first, and even in the workplace, being the person that people said, Fred? Oh yeah, he's focused. He is all about building healthy relationships. We know he cares. He's ethical. He absolutely is going to do the right thing no matter whether somebody is watching over him or not, whether there's a boss over his shoulder. And he is determined to achieve whatever goal that we set together. And so now I call that the Fred approach. And it is the Fred approach to living faith when you are committed to being an example of someone who is guided by spiritual truth, not human confusion. And so when I think about Fred Pacina, he reminds me to choose and to make a commitment to know and remember that faith is not belief without proof. It's not like, oh, well, I don't really know, but I don't have any proof that this stuff works, but I'm just I'm gonna say I have faith in it. Really, faith is trust without reservation. I trust that everything is good or leading to good. I trust that there is one source of life that is going to provide for me. It is my source, not this job, not this spouse, not this child, not this house, not this car. I trust without reservation that I am here for a purpose, and I need to be about the business of finding out what that is and living in alignment with it. I am going to trust without reservation, and there is nothing that Lauren or Patty or Kirby can tell me that is going to tell me not to trust that. They can say it to me, but I am not going to believe them, because I know there is a higher power that is working in, as, and through me, and is definitely, absolutely with me. It is living as me, and it is living through me. So if this makes any sense to you, and if maybe you are resonating with it and thinking, oh yeah, this would be a good time for me to reimagine my faith, and what would be the way that people would describe the way I lived my faith, the way that Tracy described the way Fred Pacina lived his faith, then now is the perfect time to recommit, to make a commitment to reimagine faith in our lives. Now, when I'm ready to reimagine anything and make a commitment to it, I do my own work. I, make some notes. I journal. I go and I read some devotional information. But almost always, I go to my practitioner. I go to a practitioner, a religious science, a science of mind practitioner who is trained to hold the truth for me when I'm still trying to figure it out, who is trained to be able to make a claim on the universe, and then I don't have to worry about it. I know that that's happening. It's already in the works. And so, I don't know, are any of you ready to make a commitment to reimagine faith? If you are, raise your hand. Oh, not everybody, that's okay. Today might not be your day. You got all month. You got all month to reimagine faith. We're just starting the process today, but I like to bring practitioners into my process early. So I'm going to invite some practitioners to come up and demonstrate for you and for me what it means to reimagine faith and how we can do that, how we can use our spiritual practices and spiritual principles to command, to put it into place, that we will reimagine faith. Now, do you know, some of you, most of you know, that we have a prayer practice called spiritual mind treatment, and it has 5 steps. And so I'm going to invite Anita to demonstrate and lock in step 1. It's okay. Jan, step 2. You're 4? No. You're 5, you're 4? No, and you're 3? Okay. Both of you.
We can do it.
They do know how to pray. I do know this. So, and I need you to come a little closer so that the camera picks you up. And we are going to lock and load. We are going to, it doesn't take 20 minutes to do a prayer. Because when we have clarity, like, we go right in. So you think about what you want to reimagine as it relates to faith. What do you want to reimagine as it relates to faith? Okay, grab that. You're online, grab that. There are no boundaries in the universe. And we are going to lock this in right here, right now.
So I'd invite you to close your eyes, if you will, only because that helps block out any other distractions around you. And go to that place where you commune with that higher power, whatever name by which you call it. And I invite you to the faith of my forefathers, of my ancestors. Asking you to take a breath, because when you breathe in the very life force of the infinite. That which brings animation to your being. And in that breath, I recognize that there is only one thing that happens. One source of everything that exists. My forefathers might have called that presence and that power God, Yahweh, Spirit, infinite creativity, love, peace. The divine Mother, Father, God. That one source of all.
And it is that one source that surrounds me, that permeates, penetrates, is at the very center of my being. It is the essence of who I am. It is the grounding. It is the knowing. It is that sparkling idea in the mind of the one. It is that unique expression of me and all of its creation. And there is no separation. It is the unity of the whole. It is God's mind. And it is my mind now.
And as I stand in this moment, I absolutely know that as an individualized expression of the one power, the one presence that is pouring in as and through me as creative expression. That creative expression is a demonstration of my faith, of my belief, of my conviction, that I live from that place of deep connection to Source that is inexhaustible, ever present, all-knowing. And I stand in that place of receptivity to not only expect my good, but to accept my good through every form, through every person that flows into my life.
And in this moment, should that little wiggly, squiggly butt come forward that says, yeah, but, oh, I don't know, how? I just invite you to take that by the hand and sit it down right here on the steps in front. To simply untie and untether those corsets put around this infinite power. Let it go, untie it. Allow that within each and every one to fly free, to tickle out the demonstration that, of course, it moves and breathes and lives and expresses and creates and experiences its grandeur and love and power in, as, and through my life, your life, this life, our life. And there is nothing that can corner that in. No wiggly squiggly, no habit, no nothing. That does not build in and of itself. So set it down, let it go, and remember one life, one power, one presence. That is my life right now. That is your life. That is our life. That is life, ever for more life.
And I am so grateful for knowing that I am faith. I exist in faith. I'm born in faith. I can't be outside of faith. I'm always in faith, coming from faith all the time. And so grateful for knowing that these words don't begin to describe that knowingness of what faith is in my life, and knowing this for myself, and knowing this for every single person that has, is, and ever shall walk this planet. I am grateful.
And so I loose this treatment, knowing that it is already done here and now, knowing that the law is perfect in its execution, and that the true demonstration is the new consciousness, the shift. I let it go and I let it be. And we affirm it together by saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Ashe, Amen, Aho. I'm not crying, you're crying. If you've never experienced prayer like that, you have no excuse. These practitioners, and every week there are practitioners across the way in the peace room waiting to pray with you and lock in that which affirms what you desire. If you are online, there is a link every week where you can meet with an individual practitioner in a private breakout room in Zoom for that kind of prayer. Because we do not reimagine faith or reimagine anything in our lives without doing the inner work. And sometimes we can't do it alone. And even when we can do it alone, we can speed up the process by going to our spiritual coaches, our practitioners, for prayer. We often end in prayer, but today that didn't make sense. It made more sense to use it as a place to recommit right here and right now to what it is that we want. And to remember that in Scripture, in biblical Scripture, it tells us to be able to say and do this. I reimagine my life when I have chosen the way of faithfulness. I have set my heart on spiritual law, and I will not let anything change that. So that's what I want you to join me in doing this week. Set your heart on spiritual law. Redefine faith in your life. And when you do that, you will look around and everything that you will see will be holy ground. Every place you go will be holy ground. Every person you see, you will see them as holy even when they are making you mad. You will remember, as Lisa and Etika say in their song, if you're not in awe, you're just not paying attention. So I want to end the way that I began with a short poem from my friend Shalane Harkin, and then we will close out. This poem describes what it would be like if we actually were in awe. Like if I'm not in awe, I'm not paying attention. If I really were living from this place of faithfulness, I would be a maniac. People would say, you are so positive all the time. Why are you being so loving? Why are you sharing? Why are you giving? How can you see that? You're crazy. And Shalane wrote a poem about maniacs for love. So let's be maniacs for love. When you feel insane with love for another, try and point that to God. God likes that crazy stuff. And she's the wildest of them all, full on, too much, completely over the top. He's such a romancer, he made spring, like the season spring, for you. Each flower a dedication. She's rather obsessed, really. She made birds just to sing to you. Every species of love song. Spirit, God, it composes new galaxies at the hope you might be vaguely interested and pay at a glance. Each season is more alluring than the next, saying, please notice me. Through poetic verses sewn into all creation, your heart is actually an endless book of love poems from God, if only you'll open it. What is meant by us, being created in God's image, is that God, us, we're both maniacs for love. Let's be maniacs for love this week.